This lesson, lesson 2.1, is the first lesson of the second unit of the Good Project lesson plans. So unit 2 is all about the practice of self-reflection and developing a mission. This particular lesson is very much focused on reflection, the act of reflecting, unpacking what it is, and giving students the opportunity to notice where reflection becomes a part of their regular practice. So the lesson goal is that they are able to define reflection and integrate habits of self-reflection into their practice. Here are the various ways that assessment is present in the lesson in terms of alignment with CASEL goals, self-awareness. Here are the elements of portfolio documentation, the exit ticket, additional resources. If you want to think more deeply about reflection, here are some from the Responsive Classroom and another one. There are no prerequisites to this lesson, so if you happen to have skipped through one part or another from Unit 1, no worries. And as is typical, 45 minutes of total time. So we begin, also included an optional refresher. As always, if you are short on time, please don't worry about the refreshers as long as your students have a good sense of where they're coming from. So opening activity is about unpacking exactly what reflection is. So we suggest that you spend 5 minutes asking the students how it is that they define this word reflection. Let them offer their initial assumptions to you, and then you can provide additional definitions. You could choose your own, or here are a few that we suggest. One is from dictionary.com, and then another more academic definition is the process of engaging in attentive, critical, exploratory, and iterative interactions with one's own thoughts and actions with a view towards change. This is how the Good Project regularly describes reflection, another definition for you. And then I think it's important to stress that we hope that students, that reflection becomes a habit in their lives. And then we're going to talk about why. So how do we reflect and why do we reflect? So beginning with how. It's important to talk about the fact that reflection probably happens a great deal in your classroom, and students may or may not be aware of it. It probably also happens in life. So we suggest choosing one of the following to offer as an example that you might add to your routine in the classroom. So think to yourself. One is to ask students, what's something you've done well today? Provide a minute for them to think silently. Another is a thumb gauge. So ask students to respond with a thumbs up, with a thumb sideways, or sideways, where is it? There it is, or thumbs down. So just a simple question that is going to be non-judgmental. So like, how did you sleep last night? And if there's any sort of worry about it being judgment or self-conscious, you can ask them all to close their eyes. Another would be fist to 5. Ask students to respond with a 0 or 1, 2 to 5 being the best in terms of how prepared did you feel for school today, or something else. You could offer other examples as well. So now that you've discussed where someone is coming from or what one has learned, part of reflection, we ask that you then move on to where is it that you want to go or what you hope to achieve. So moving towards the future part of reflection. So again, choose appropriate follow-up depending on which exercise you did above. So think about what you've done well, think about what you might help you to do in the future. So think to yourself, thumb gauge, or fist to 5 again. And then we suggest 20 minutes spent on the mirror test. There's a handout here asking students to conduct their own mirror test. And it's important to emphasize that the mirror test is not literal. It's not about their physical reflection, but it's to move beyond that. So how do you describe yourself in terms of identity, your beliefs? What do you feel good about? And again, it's important to judge your own students' level of comfort and privacy and things like that. So you know them best. Think about how best to present these elements so that students feel safe and happy to dig in and engage. Keep that written reflection for the good work portfolio. And then finally, as always, there is an exit ticket asking students to complete the lesson exit ticket where they identify a new weekly reflection habit that they want to build outside of class, and stress that it doesn't need to be a big one. It could be 1 minute of reflection at night in a journal, or it could be recording something to their phone, so it doesn't have to feel prohibitive in any way. And that's the beginning of Unit 2.